Hello listeners, Jordan here. I just want to let you know that you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
This episode of the Nighttime Podcast discusses recreational substance abuse, sex work, and karaoke. Listener discretion is advised.
You are tuned to the Nighttime Podcast, focused on the fringe of Canada.
Hello listeners. I know I say this all the time, but I truly have something a little different for you this time around. Well, I suppose different may not be the right way to describe it. Let me put it this way. If you didn't watch the community TV station in Cape Bretoner, Nova Scotia in the 80s, you probably aren't this episode's target audience. Actually, if I'm being completely honest, this episode doesn't really even have a specific audience in mind. My motivation to put this episode together was that I wanted to better understand one of the more bizarre memories I have from my childhood. Here's how I remember it. It was sometime in the late 80s. 7-year-old Jordan and his older brother Jamie were spending a Saturday evening with their legs crossed on the carpet, playing The Legend of Zelda on Nintendo. As they hear their father coming down the hall, they assume it's about to be time to shut off the 15-inch CRTV and hit the bunk beds. But instead, they're offered the opportunity to stay up late with their dad and some of his friends to watch a karaoke event that'll be broadcast live on the community TV station. Now, cut ahead a few hours. My brother and I are sitting on the couch, way past our bedtime, eating chips and suffering through an endless series of people holding beer and awkwardly butchering songs we didn't know.
Our next contestant is always a pleasure. John Lewis, come on down here, John. Take her over, big guy. I can't stop loving you. I've made up my mind to live in memory.
Unappealing as this may seem for two kids, there was definitely an energy in our living room. Just like the folks on screen, my dad and his friends were also drinking beer. And as their voices slowly grew louder and less articulate, they teased a main event with statements like, "He's probably still warming up," and "He's going to be on soon." And then finally it happened. Instead of the wisecracking karaoke host puttering through a typical introduction, the last performer of the night got something much more theatrical.
Yes, sir. This next singer, he's not your average oversexed, ultra-macho male musician. No. He's your basic, semi-subversive, underground, hooligan, playboy, womanizer. The warm and wonderful Chickie Macphee. Come on down here. Oh, a real singer. High-five them all, chick. Kiss them. This might take a while, gang. You probably got to sign some autographs. You're selling shirts. You can get shirts there. Yes, Chickie Macphee, the entertainer of entertainer, Mr. Show Business himself. We want to know for sure. Wow,
Now I'm going to do my best to describe what you can't see by simply listening to that clip. The karaoke event, as I said, is being broadcast from a local bar in my hometown called the Bonnie Prince. The bar is jammed with, 1980s looking people. They're all smoking, and they're all sitting at tables drinking. On the stage is a live band who are churning out hits as a boisterous host beckons the performers to the stage. And when our star, Chickie Macphee, is finally called upon, the entire bar raises to their feet, half of them wearing shirts that say "I love Chickie." The camera then dials in on a thin man who's stumbling a twisted route to the stage. As he's half crawling and half pulled onto the stage, he's passed the mic, and the band starts playing his song, Wild Thing. And immediately, the night becomes his.
We did a wild thing. We did everything. Wild thing. I wanna know for sure.
So yeah, as a young kid who didn't understand alcohol or what being drunk was, I simply thought Chickie Macphee is some kind of crazy living cartoon. And like my dad and his friends, immediately I became his biggest fan. It was probably midnight by the time Chickie wrapped up, and as he did, my brother and I were ordered to bed. So from there we stumbled down the hall, grunting something sounding vaguely like Wild Thing, just like our new folk hero Chickie Macphee just did. In the months that followed, I think there was a handful of Saturday nights that Dad let my brother and I stay up late enough to see Chickie. And as far as I remember, every time we saw him, it was the same thing. Chickie, hammered, singing Wild Thing. So yeah, that's the memory I'm going to explore tonight. To begin our journey, we're going to first check in with someone with questionable judgment. My dear old dad. I have this weird memory, Dad, and I want to know what you remember about this. So when I was probably 6 or 7, I remember you keeping me up late at night to watch this crazy guy do karaoke. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Chickie Macphee.
What was the story with this guy?
He was a celebrity. We got Frankie now. Well, he was even bigger than Frankie back then. He was huge. Had shirts put out. I love Chickie.
I remember them, yeah.
The Bonnie was packed. When he'd come on, the place was jammed. Everybody knew him. Couldn't sing, but everybody thought he could sing, and they just loved him.
I remember him being like, you couldn't even make him out, and he was like falling over, singing Wild Thing.
Well, yeah. Well, he was drinking all night, and then he got up and sang his song. So it was like, if he was playing at, say, the Bonnie Prince, the place would be jammed. Uh-huh. I mean, you couldn't be. They were turning people away because they wanted to go see him, and he couldn't sing. But they loved him. They just
because he was drunk and
he was having a good time. He was having a ball.
And other than like him performing karaoke, did you know anything about him?
I didn't. All I knew was they had Eastlink had a show on, and they used to play the karaoke, and that's what I used to show you. Hopefully, you grew up to be like him, but you didn't.
I grew up to not drink. I wonder if that's why.
Maybe that's why.
After talking about this with Pop at nighttime, I brought my search to the internet in hopes I could find out where Chickie was nowadays. But what I found made the answers to my questions much more difficult to find. Chickie's obituary let me know that the Wild Thing had passed away just before Christmas in 2015. Obviously, I was gutted, as I sincerely wanted to shake his hand and celebrate his history with him on air. But I wasn't defeated yet. Just as Chickie's obituary knocked the wind out of my quest, seeing the names of his mourning family members gave me a breath of hope. My search led me to Chickie's younger brother, Rich MacPhee. And as it turned out, Rich had all the history I was looking for. So let's get to it. Tonight, in this episode of Nighttime, I'll be joined by Chickie Macphee's little brother Rich. During our talk, I'm going to try to figure out who the heck is Chickie Macphee, and how, for a period of time in the 80s, did he become so famous for getting drunk and singing Wild Thing that his performances were being broadcast on community TV.
Hello.
Hi, Richard. How you doing?
Not too bad. Jordan, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Do you go by Richard or Rick?
Rich is good, yeah.
Rich is good. Yeah, so I'll tell you what brought me to your brother's story. Like, I'm too young to have been to any of his events or anything, but
Yeah.
I have these memories of my dad keeping me up really late at night when I was probably too young for it. I think I would have been like 8 or 9, so this would have been late 80s.
Yeah.
And on the weekend, my dad would keep me up really late at night to be like, you got to stay up late. The karaoke's going to be on, the community TV, and we're going to get to see Chickie.
Yeah.
And
Channel 10.
yeah, on Channel 10, that's right. And my dad, like, I would sit through all the horrible, like, karaoke performances earlier in the night, and it was all waiting for the main event. And it was almost like watching boxing. You were waiting for Tyson to come out, and it would be, they give this big grand introduction, like, he's a woman's man, he's this and that, Chickie Macphee. But
We'd be half drunk sitting in the audience.
oh yeah, well, I
We
would.
just thought it was so funny that anybody actually watched it.
Oh, okay. Well, I was at home watching it as a little kid with my just like jaw on the floor, being like, "What are these adults doing?" But I guess he would go up, and everyone would have the shirts on, like that said, like "We love Chickie" or "I love Chickie."
I actually got one of them.
Oh, you have one of them?
Yeah.
Nice.
was-
But I remember like everyone wearing them, and I think my dad and some of his friends may have even had them.
This guy came up with the idea. He lived just next door to the county line, actually, on Grain Lake Road.
Yeah,
That's where he cut his teeth.
that's the spot. Okay.
Yeah, but there's a guy that grew up just a block away from there, and he got the idea. He made the shirts, and he was making money on it because everybody was buying them.
Wow.
He was making money on the shirts. Funniest thing.
Yeah, it was definitely a big thing, and I don't know why it really stuck with me. I think it is just like as a kid, it was the first time I saw like the inside of a bar and stuff,
Oh yeah, okay.
But it's
Some of the funniest things that happened back then, like we had a baseball team from Grain Lake Road, and Chickie was on it. Like he had a shirt. He didn't play a whole lot because he was always drunk, right? But we were selling tickets one time because we were going away to play in the Nationals, actually. We were selling a ticket. It was a milk ticket. Free milk for a year.
okay.
And back in the day, they had the flea market at the Sydney Shopping Mall, and that was crowded. It was wall-to-wall people every Sunday, right? So we decided to sell our tickets down there. We all had our ball uniforms on, and we had 2, maybe 3 tables lined up as soon as you come in the main door. And we were all there, probably 20 of us, with our ball uniforms on, and Chickie's there. And these two young girls come in. Like, we're all in our 20s back then, and Chickie's a little older than half of us. But these 2 young girls come in with very sharp. And they're looking at us, and we're sticking our chest out and everything, and they're looking, and they're talking to each other, and they walk past us, and of course we're all looking at them, right? And they look back, and they come back towards the table. And who they walk up to but Chickie? They said, "Are you Chickie Macphee?" We said, "Yeah," and we're mesmerized that we're from Toronto. Can we have your autograph? I wouldn't have believed it, but there was 20 of us there to see it. It was the funniest thing.
Wow. So his fandom reached that far away. That's amazing.
They recognized him, right? It was too funny.
Yeah. So you're Chickie's younger brother, are you?
Yes.
Yeah. By how many years younger?
I think Chickie would have been 66, maybe. I'm 60 right now.
Okay.
So 5-6 years, I guess.
Yeah. So let's start with this. Tell me a bit about, like, I know Chickie simply as a performer doing karaoke and as a public figure.
He was an awful bad big brother. He wasn't a good. He wasn't a very good role model. Let me put it to you that way.
Well, I'll tell you, I mentioned this to my dad when I was asking my dad about showing me Chickie's performances. My dad said, "I really hoped you'd grow up to be like Chickie." And I said, "Well, that didn't happen, but I don't drink as an adult, and maybe that has something to do with watching Chickie as a young kid." But what was it? Tell me about your family. Like, where are you guys from? How many of you are there?
There was 8 of us, including our parents. But 4 girls and Chickie and I.
Okay, and were you like a close family? What kind of family was this?
We were very close when we were younger. Yeah, our parents split up when I was like 16, but even after that, like, you know, we always had big family Christmases, and with you know, all the nieces and nephews, and you know, we were always close to our cousins growing up through our parents.
Yeah.
You know.
What about Chickie? Like, growing up, what kind of guy was he? I'm thinking, like, in my mind, he's like a real showman. Was that something that?
No, he wouldn't say shit if he had a mouthful, unless he was drinking.
Okay.
You had to pry something out of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's very shy. I only remember him dating a girl just down the road from us, not for long. Mm-hmm. Other than that, he's lucky if he was ever kissed.
Oh, really?
He was pretty shy, yeah. Matter of fact, we had back when we were in our 20s, everybody was getting married, you know, all the same age group. We were having a lot of bachelor parties, it seemed. So back then, some of the guys, you know, would get girls in for the bachelor parties. And one night we were there, and they had 3 girls come. And the deal was it would go to the groom, or anyway, somebody got the bright idea. They said, listen, let's put all the names in the hat, but we're all going to put Chickie's name in the hat. So when he wins, right, but you got to keep him kind of sober, right? Uh-huh. We didn't want him to f*** it up once he won. So anyway, the boys kept an eye on him, kept him, you know, he'd get pretty drunk pretty quick if you didn't, you know, watch him. Anyway, we kept it so in the winner is, and they picked the name out of that, and Chickie, they stood up, and it was the funniest thing. He went downstairs with this girl, and it was to, you know, do around the world if you want. She was getting paid well. Anyway, he went down, and there was this other guy that was pretty drunk, and he was trying to get down the stairs. So this friend of ours said, I'll keep watch. I won't let nobody down there, right? He said, Rich, for Jesus' sake, go around and look in the window and see how he's doing. Is he doing it or... Anyway, I did. I went around, you know, the liquor involved, of course. I peeked in when Chickie's having a good time. And I said, Haas, for Jesus' sake, you got to go see this. I said, you got nothing but socks on. But he was having a ball. Other than that, I don't know if Chickie ever got kissed before, you know what I'm saying?
Wow. So what was he into other than, obviously he was into music and karaoke and drinking, but what kind of hobbies he had?
No, it was just the drinking. Every time he'd go up on karaoke, you know, Stevie Batherson.
Yeah, from Stevie's Jamboree.
Well, Stevie would generally buy him a couple of pitchers to get him started, right? Like, Chick didn't always have money, but Steve would come in and make sure that he got a good jag on, and then he'd get up singing, right?
Wow.
He'd never ever sing if he was sober, I guarantee you that.
Really? Wow.
Sir, you ready?
And about life in the land of the rain. We are living in a yellow submarine. We are living in a yellow submarine. A yellow submarine, a yellow submarine. We all live in a yellow submarine. A yellow submarine, a yellow... Folks.
His real name is Walter. Where did the name Chickie come from?
Because he was small. He was nicknamed that when he was like a teenager.
Okay, yeah, because he's a skinny little guy, right?
Yeah, he wasn't very big. Mm-hmm. He was actually taller than I am.
Okay, but just as a kid, he was small enough, so like Chickie, like a chick from like a duck, like that kind of thing.
A nickname for a small person. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Now, so a quiet, regular guy who obviously liked having a good time and drinking. Do you know how the karaoke started? Like, do you remember when this kind of aspect of his life began?
I mean, I should. Like, you know, I can't put a date on it, but whenever it started at the county line, before Stevie Batherson, there were some other guys started up there. Mm-hmm. And it was, I don't know it was like a fad back then, and they were doing lip singing and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, that was a thing then. Like,
it was big. It was a thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, it did sell out. You'd be lucky if you could get a chair there if you didn't show up in time.
yeah, especially if they knew Chickie was going to perform. My dad was telling me they'd be lined up outside.
Yeah, it was just like a fad. It was something to do back then.
Mm-hmm.
And like they'd have, like if they did it at the county line, they had big screen TVs. I think they had 5 of them at the county line itself. Now that bar now is a restaurant.
Yes, I go there every so often for hot turkey sandwiches with my buddy.
Well, you picture that place with about 5 big screens.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't, if you're at the back of the place, you wouldn't be able to see the stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was quite the thing back then. Like the place would be sold out.
Wow.
It was I think it was on like Saturday nights back then. It started.
Yeah.
But then when they went to like Sundays, they go all over the friggin' place.
Wow.
Place Bay and North Sydney and.
It's a different time for sure. Like, I don't think anything like that happens now.
No, not much anyway. Not that I know of.
When Chickie, like, this took off, he was known all around the island and as far as Toronto, obviously, from your encounter there at the flea market. How did, like, you and the rest of your family react to him being kind of this celebrity around town? What did you think of all this?
Well, we just thought it was all funny, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you know, you'd say, "Holy shit!" Like, but it was more like a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like he wasn't, you know, famous or nothing. It's just we laughed at the way some people actually enjoyed it, I guess.
I know my dad did. My dad was so excited to keep me up, to show me him. And we watched, I feel like we did it every weekend for like a year or something. Yeah. I don't know how long it went on for.
Because I know my aunts and that, they would all watch it too, just, you know, to watch Chickie, right? And it was more of a kid, look, he's on TV.
Yeah.
Like, you know, nobody got on TV.
Yeah.
But, you know, even though it was Channel 10, but I mean, back, like I say, in the day when we played baseball and that, Chickie was always around. He never, you know, in his later years, he didn't play much with us, but he was always with us,
mm-hmm.
you know, drinking and partying, playing baseball. We after a ball game one time, we walked into the county line, and him and I walked up to the bar because I was buying him a beer. And there was an older gentleman standing at the bar, and he said, "Are you Chickie Macphee?" Chickie said, "Yeah." And he was, you know, right sober. Normally, if he was drinking, he'd strike up a conversation with me. And Chickie said, "Yeah." He said, "Can I have your autograph? They're for my niece and nephew, and they really like you. Can I have your autograph?" Chickie, just like it was famous, you know, he grabbed a thing and he signed his name on it for Buddy.
Jeez.
It was too funny.
He must have.
I just laughed at it. I love telling the story that somebody actually asked him.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised at all. Like, even if you Google his name now, Chickie, you'll see there's some videos of his going around.
Yeah, I see that. That's funny.
Yeah, but was this anything where like yourself and your siblings and your parents, like, did it ever become a problem? Like, was he infamous enough that it was bothering all of you, or were you all kind of happy for him getting his
Oh no,
time?
That never bothered us. Like, Chickie was Chickie all his life. Like, instead of being my bigger brother, he was like my younger brother.
Yeah, I get that. And we've talked a lot about like the drinking and the partying. He's known for pushing the limit. Like, there's videos I've seen where he's pretty much carried on stage. Was that like was drinking? Was that something he had control of, or was that a problem he had in life?
Oh, that was definitely a problem. Yeah, big time. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I seen the worst of him. He where I used to live on Grand Lake Road, after our parents died and stuff, I took over the old homestead, and that's where Chickie lived all his life with my father, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he never charged him rent or nothing. Like Chickie wouldn't even have unemployment most of his life. He never, until he was maybe, I'm guessing, late 50s, somebody, helped him get welfare.
Okay.
And like for years, he never took a dime in, you know what I mean? He'd paint for people and he'd get money on the side, but he never ever worked, Mm-hmm. My father always just basically took care of him, you know what I mean? Let him stay there for nothing sort of thing, but he was like the young brother, and everybody sort of watched out for Chickie sort of deal, right? But later, after my parents died, I bought the old homestead and I rented it out to Chickie after when he was getting welfare for money. Mm-hmm. I rented that house to him, and I seen the best and I seen the worst of Chickie, let me tell you. Mm-hmm. He drank to get drunk and falling down, and I've seen him get put in and out of a taxi cab a lot of times.
Yeah, I bet. And it seems like the karaoke time, like when he was really well known around town, would have been like the later 90s. And then at one point he seemed to just kind of fall out of the public eye when they stopped, broadcasting karaoke and stuff. What were Chickie's later years like? Like how did he spend his time? And
he would go down the Ashby Legion mm-hmm. every day. Like you'd see Chickie walking, leaving Grand Lake Road. Like he ended up renting a smaller apartment because when he stayed next door with me, it was a story and a half house. It was way too big for him. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we put him in an apartment, and then he ended up in a seniors up just above the Bonnie.
Okay.
But every day, 9:30, 9:15, you'd see Chickie walking. We used to call him Walking Walter. He did a lot of walking because he never ever had a driver's license or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But he'd be walking to the Ashby Legion. It would open at 10, and he was there.
Wow.
10 to 10, you'd see him sitting on the bench. And he'd go down there. Most days he wouldn't have money, but he'd go in and they'd give him a beer, and he'd help out a bit. And, they'd give him a couple of beer. But he'd hang around half the day there. Mm-hmm. And then make his way back to his apartment or.
So that was his life. Like a lot of his life stayed at the bar and drinking. And,
yeah,
and whatnot.
It's centered around drinking. Yeah, all of his life did. Yeah.
Do you know? Did he ever have to did it ever get to the point that he had to get like some kind of treatment or anything like that? Like, did it be or
Well, you could say that one time I got a phone call. It was only. I don't know, 6-7 years ago, a couple of years before he died. Anyway, somebody called me from the Legion. They said, you should come down here. He's here and he's in a lot of pain. Anyway, I went down and I got him and I took him to the hospital, which, took a lot of convincing. And I said, what'd you do, Chick? He said, I did a header last night. He used to have the funniest sayings, but he fell. He was drunk and he said went to Dairy Queen and he fell. But he broke his ribs is what he did. I've seen the x-rays the doctor showed me. And he broke his ribs, but they gave him painkillers and stuff for it. But he never, took care of himself. And that happened, and I think he died 2 or 3 years after that. And I know that he never healed. But it seemed from then he went downhill. He had even before that, about 15 years before he died, he had a four-wheeler accident up in Waikagama. He used to go up to a hunting cabin with the boys up there. They used to call him the hut slut. He'd do the cooking and cleaning, and they'd supply him with liquor, But he took a four-wheeler out one day, and he might have had a helmet on, but anyway, the helmet fell off, and he banged his head. He landed in a river up there, and a guy happened to come along and spotted him. He probably would have drowned in the river, wow. But the guy they went and pulled him out. Anyway, I took him to the hospital then. He went to Bedeck, he left Bedecostal on his own. He made his way to Sydney, and then when we found out what happened, I got him in the hospital again, and he cracked his friggin' skull. I seen the X-rays for that.
Jeez.
And they showed me that they said, like, if he bangs his head again, he could die.
Wow.
The doctor told me. But he was never really the same after that either. That was after karaoke days and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But he got a little better after that, but he really hurt his head that time.
Yeah.
He would never, a couple of beer after that, and he would get right strange and violent, and he really changed.
Wow.
But he was lucky he didn't die that time.
Yeah, it sounds it. Now, he passed was it in 2015? Am I got that right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, and I understand he passed after a short illness it was cancer that eventually saw the end. I had read his obituary, and even in his obituary, it makes note of his time as like a karaoke celebrity, and it specifically mentions he loved the song Wild Thing. Like, so it's obvious that this is a big part of his legacy, this part of his life, and his role as a public figure from karaoke. How do you think Chickie saw his legacy? Like, would this have been something Chickie would be proud that we're still talking about years later?
Yes, he would. Mm-hmm. He'd be happy with that. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about it for sure.
Is there anything else about Chickie or about, the life he lived that you want to tell people about?
We always said you wouldn't have hurt a flea. Mm-hmm. Like I say, Chickie, we always said that. Like, he never made an enemy. We used to tease him a lot and joke around and stuff, but Jesus, he used to be in that tavern, and one day we were in there, and he'd tell young guys that he used to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And he was sitting up in the thing drunk one night, and there was a young guy, I didn't know him, but Chickie told him, oh yeah, I used to play for Toronto. He said, I just played for the farm team though. He said, I never got on but the young guy believed every word he was saying. But to see him in action, and for somebody to believe him, right?
Oh yeah. Well,
we had a lot of laughs over the years, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, he sounds like a great guy.
Yeah, he was.
I want to thank you for sticking with me during this unconventional episode. This one, the story of Chickie Macphee, is easily among the favorite episodes that I've done. For me, it highlights a lot of why I loved growing up in Cape Breton in the 80s. But then, at the same time, it reminds me of a lot of the social problems that still exist there. In the end, I'm thankful to have had the colorful Chickie Macphee make a brief appearance in my childhood. But in learning his story, I really wish things had ended differently for him. But I suppose Chickie did keep true to his promises. He made a lot of hearts sing, and he certainly made everything a little bit more groovy. Chickie Macphee, I think we love you. And with that, I'll end this episode of Nighttime. But before we part, I'm going to give some thanks. First, a massive thank you to our guest, Rich MacPhee. Rich, I can't thank you enough for telling me about your very unique brother, and doing so in an equally colorful fashion. And then, of course, there's a huge thank you to all the listeners of Nighttime. Without your interest and your support, this show wouldn't be possible. But let me also say that the battle to keep Nighttime on the karaoke stage is an uphill one, and I hope I can count on your help. If you want to keep the show singing, please subscribe to the premium feed. Not only does it make the show possible, it'll give you more of each topic than you're going to find here in the free feed. You can subscribe to the premium feed at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And since I brought up the premium feed, let me thank the newest subscribers. Hugh, Emma, Tyler, Susan, Joyce, Jax, Samantha, and Dave. Thank you all for your generous support. And for anyone else out there who'd like to support the show but can't do it financially, You can keep Canada weird by sharing these episodes on social media and telling your friends about the show. And if you have any story ideas or if you want to give feedback on the show, you can reach me at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. Also, I'm on social media. I use the handle @nighttimepod, and I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and check out the Chickie Macphee performances I added to my YouTube channel. The link will be in the episode description.
The Nighttime Podcast is written, hosted, and produced by Jordan Bonaparte. Copyright Jordan Bonaparte.
As the anticipation in the room comes to a boiling point, they know he's in the room, but when is he coming up? Yes, he's not your average oversexed, ultra-macho male musician. No! He's your basic, semi-subversive, underground womanizer, playboy womanizer, the one and only Chickie Macphee! I feel like chicken tonight as the crowd goes wild. The chicken is here! Everybody's doing the chicken! Come on down there, Chickie! Here he comes now, folks! Clear the way! Clear the way for the kissing bandit!
We got a song for you. Popeye, Popeye, sailor man. We're doing the best that we can. Yoo-hoo! Popeye the sailor is doing. Popeye the sailor man. Gotta give me hands this day, man. Gotta give me hands. Gotta give me hands with Popeye, man. Hey, I'll get Popeye too. Later.
Watch your step there, Chick. Whoa!